and Blendermen. The following presentation features brief, high-intensity strobe lighting effects, which may be hazardous to some humans. Viewer discretion is advised. And now, direct from Disillusion Industries HQ via interstellar live stream, it's the daring debunker of digital dubiousness, the valiant vanquisher of VFX virality, recently ranked among YouTube's most underrated under 80, Captain Disillusion!
Greetings, 3D professionals! Wow, what an impressive crowd for such a tiny theater. You all look absolutely smashing. But I can't say the same about my image quality. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to fix this. Alan? Alan? Where is he?
Yeah, okay.
Here. Everyone, this is my unpaid intern assistant, Alan. Say hello.
Hello.
Alan is going to make the screen look presentable, as he should have done before the presentation started. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir, I'm on it.
Now don't worry, friends, this isn't going to be one of those lame remote talks like the poor souls next door in the salon are having to settle for. Whoa, much better. Thank you. It's just I like to make an entrance. And what better way to make it than with Blender 2.8's new experimental feature, Biomesh Export. I believe the keyboard shortcut is Control-Alt-Shift-Caps-Lock-Tab.
Wait, Captain, you have to enable the add-on first.
What? I thought I already did whatever that is.
Yeah, but you didn't save the user settings. Just
I don't understand the words you're saying.
It's okay, I got it here. You're all set now. Okay.
Okay, everyone. Please put on the commemorative Elephant's Dream safety goggles provided under your seats as I activate the X-Portal. Alan, do we have link up?
Yes, sir. Both ends appear to be stable.
I will now travel through the gate instantaneously to join you in the theater.
Stand back, folks. Interspace travel through in 3, 2, 1.
Ow!
Stand by. Sorry.
Status report.
Looks like there was insufficient power for a stable export, Captain.
But I routed everything we've got into the system. What else can I... Unless... Do you think... Yes, of course.
What?
Why don't we just use the Blender default cube as a power source? It's made from a mysterious substance that radiates a powerful form of energy science hasn't been able to identify.
I don't know, Captain. That sounds like an insanely dangerous thing to do in a room full of innocent people. Let me find another solution, okay?
Nonsense. I'll simply reconfigure the interface for the Python library, port the EV viewport engine into the power matrix, and as long as you're not touching any kind of highly conductive aluminum surface, I can safely plug in the power.
What happened? I feel so weak and flabby.
Captain?
Alan, what did you do?
Nothing. I don't know. I think we switched bodies. This jacket's really warm.
Don't touch anything. Just run the machine again so we can switch back.
Everything's shorted out. It's gonna take me a while to fix.
Fine, just get it working. At least I'm here now. Can't get good help these days. I gotta make the best of it, because the show must go on, all right? Proper attire. Okay, that's good. You guys, the thing, what is that called? The applause, okay. Do that thing, okay, but not until I say, okay? Just gonna get ready. Do the thing, okay, big clap, applause, okay. No, you're gonna have to do it again. Wait, okay, here we go. And ready, and. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Disillusion. It's so great to be here in the beautiful, vibrant, adventurous, liberal city of Amsterdam, standing in a dark room, talking about software. Of course, we're all here because of one very special individual. You heard him speak earlier. His name is, of course, Ton Roosendaal. Yes. What a man. What a man. Software developer, entrepreneur, voice actor, a true modern-day Renaissance man. A man who once looked at the landscape of 3D animation and modeling tools and saw a real scarcity, you know? I mean, what have been our professional choices? There's always just been Maya and Softimage, right? And, you know, 3ds Max, Houdini, Lightwave, ZBrush, Modo, you know, Cinema 4D. There's not that many, okay? So he decided to create one more. He gave it a very attractive, very marketable name, Blender, and, of course, a logo, which, in accordance with the International Treaty for 3D Software Logos, always has to be some sort of embryonic proto-life form abomination. That's just a rule. There's nothing we can do about that. And we all know the rest of the story, of course. The domain blender.com was taken by, you know, blenders, so he had to settle for a .org, which, as we know, cannot be for a commercial product. So did Ton give up at that point? No. He made Blender non-commercial and free and open source. And to make sure that it remains free, that artists all over the world have access to this amazing versatile tool, that something like this would never, ever happen, he started the Blender Foundation. Yes? Now, you guys know this in this room. The Blender Foundation is not just one simple organization. It's kind of a conglomeration of different, you know, entities interconnected. Ton has explained it to us in detail in the past. I think I understand it. Just to go over it again, there's the Blender Foundation, right? The Blender first floor, the Blasement, the prestigious Rosendahl Center for the Advancement of Blue Shirts. That's on the nonprofit side. On the commercial side of things, we've got Blastoff, 3D printed vibrators limited. I think they sponsor Code Quest, I'm not sure. For the youngsters, there's Blender Daycare. Very important work being done by the Blender Crash-Induced Depression Support Hotline. Those people save lives, okay? But I think maybe, for me, the most interesting part of the organization has to be the Blender Animation Studio, also known as the Blender Institute or School for Gifted Youngsters. They're settling in on the name, just give them time, you know. This is where all the cool stuff happens, of course, where Blender is put to the test by a group of creative professionals from all over. It's a real melting pot, you know. We got people from Patagonia, from Italy, from Iceland, from Germany, from Russia, from all sorts of overwhelmingly Caucasian places. And at one point, as I understand it briefly, even a girl. So the diversity is inspiring. And you deserve applause. You deserve. And so together, they create Blender Open Movies. These are, you know, open source short animated films designed to showcase what Blender is capable of and help push its development forward. You know, turn it into a real industry standard tool. But these guys create Pixar-level stuff, in my opinion. But because they're not beholden to a corporate, you know, big studio, they can be as experimental and inventive as they want. You know, they'll do the cute animal antics stuff, but they'll also tackle more dramatic subjects like, you know, dysfunctional relationships, or you know, tragic loss, or you know, the nature of existence, philosophy, or to be honest, I still don't know what that one's about, but it's real trippy. I just love it. I put it on, my friends and I just, whoa. You know, and this year, of course, congratulations are in order. The Blender Animation Studio won the People's Voice Webby Award for Agent 327 Operation Barbershop. I think that deserves a round of applause, man. Amazing. Who would have thought that after years of doing all this artistic, inventive, original, creative stuff, all they had to do to win a Webby was take an old, successful comic book property and reboot that as a film. You know, a film composed entirely of a series of action sequences, right? With a very wishy-washy, lazy, unsatisfying cliffhanger ending. Yeah, you know what? I think Blender is more than ready to become an industry standard, so we've arrived, folks. But seriously, of course I know that Operation Barbershop was just a proof of concept for what's going to be the first feature-length film produced by the Blender Foundation. The first commercial feature film of sorts, I think almost entirely produced in Blender, is currently already playing on Netflix, from what I heard. The next Blender Open movie, Spring, is looking amazing. And like this very tiny JPEG blown up. I'm sorry, I couldn't find any other picture. But I can't wait to see it. I love following the progress on the Blender cloud. Just, you know, a moment of sincerity here. Blender has become just an amazing tool. It has grown. It is so impressive. And I think I'm not the only one thinking that, because with over 6 million downloads in the past 12 months, I think the world is starting to agree. So I genuinely want to say thank you so much for having me here and letting me celebrate this with you. And I just love being here, and I really appreciate it. And Ton, personally, thank you so much. So, thanks. You guys deserve a round of applause. Thank you. Yeah. That's enough sucking up, right? I think we're good. Like, it's too formal. Let's get a little more casual. I'm sorry if this is inappropriate. Okay. Because, I mean, I'm not a big A-list celebrity here. I'm a YouTuber, you know. I'm from YouTube, so maybe we should spend a little bit of time talking about my favorite subject, myself. Let me tell you a little bit about my Blender journey, okay? When I was a young space cadet, computer-based video editing and stuff, nonlinear editing, was just barely becoming a thing, at least available to like not big studios. But our school did have this system called the Video Toaster. It was this Amiga computer with a special card that could control tape decks, and it had this digital switcher, and maybe that switcher had a few too many like sexy lady silhouette transitions, you know, but it also had a button labeled 3D. Okay, and pressing that button led you to an application called Lightwave 3D, which was kind of mind-blowing to me at the time, because at that very time, on television, there were pioneering shows like Babylon 5 and Star Trek Voyager, which no longer used miniatures and models for their space sequences. They were doing full CGI, and this was done in the same software that I had access to and I could play with, and that was like unheard of before then. So when I graduated from school, I actually got a copy of Lightwave for myself, and when I got on YouTube and started making Captain Disillusion, that was my platform for doing 3D. So the very first shot, the very first image of the very first episode, the wall that I always use at the beginning, that was done in Lightwave, and I still use that same render. I've done other things like, you know, recreate my set. I once did this weird spaceship that accidentally ended up looking like Pikachu. I don't really know what happened. You know how you just start modeling something and you don't know where you end up. So, you know, that's what I was using. But you all know how it goes. Computers get faster, software needs to be updated, and you know, you have to stay on the upgrade train. You gotta do it in time to get the discount price, or you're gonna basically, if you wait too long, you have to buy your software all over again. So, because in my case, Captain Disillusion wasn't really profitable for approximately the first 2 to 10 years, I just had to kind of give up at a certain point. I didn't use 3D anymore. I stopped paying for Lightwave, and I just got by with After Effects. But then this Icelandic kid in my Facebook feed kept like talking about this Blender thing, Blender this, Blender that, and I looked into it, and what I discovered was this very, very massive and active and a loyal community, because it wasn't an exclusive club. It was available to everyone. So this community of people was so enthusiastic, so vocal, so just like, I'm not going to stand here and call the Blender community a cult, okay, but just, I mean, you do have like a cute sort of, you know, official title for your leader, and the new headquarters looks like this. So I mean, you tell me, like, what's a cult and what's not. You know, I'm not saying it as a negative thing. I'm saying if Blender is a cult, I'm in the cult now. Like, I've been assimilated, and I'm happy about it. Okay, I've gone through all the stages. I retweet all the hashtag B3D things almost automatically now. I'm not at the stage where I incorporated the Blender logo into my Twitter avatar, Sebastian Koenig style. But I mean, I'm thinking about it, maybe, I don't know, maybe something like this. Not the most original thing, but I've seen that picture drawn like that. So, that's how it starts, And of course, I've spent many, many nights trying to figure out how to do something simple in Blender, and just I kept at it, and I probably drank as many cups of coffee as Gleb Alexandrov trying to get through all of it. I have relearned all my terminology from Lightwave days. I know it's not polygons, it's faces, it's not lines, it's edges, it's not points, it's vertices. I've even gone through that intermediate stage where you get a little too comfortable with the term vertices, you get a little too trigger happy, and you start saying it as a singular vertice, right? Vertice, and then you learn that the singular of vertices is not vertice, it's vertex, right? And you sound like an idiot in all your old tutorials, so many tutorials. And of course, I have recorded my own tutorials. I mean, that's something we do for the community. I've done tutorials on how to do things in Blender that I myself have learned the day before from much shorter, better tutorials. It's a rite of passage, it's something you do. And personally, I don't really worry about my Blender tutorials being too long, because I know that just as in physics, there's a physical constant. No matter how fast you accelerate, you'll never reach or exceed the speed of light. With Blender tutorials, no matter how long you make yours, you'll never exceed the duration of Kent Trammell. They just got 19-hour courses. It's insane, it's sick. But I learned a lot from this guy. I learned a lot from so many instructors in the community. I love learning about new features. I love learning about classic tutorials. I'll rewatch things even if it's a little outdated. All the stuff on the Blender cloud is so current. And especially this cool character modeling tutorial by Angela Gannett. I've gone through that thing. It's so involved. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's complicated. Yes, the model in the photo references is in fact an adult film star from the Czech Republic. But you have to know these. You have to know these things. You have to do your research. And that's what I did. I worked at it. I started incorporating the Blender production shots into my web series, and it wasn't too long before I didn't just get good at Blender, I became the world's greatest Blenderer, all right? Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad you agree. Some people might think that's hyperbole, but I don't think so. I mean, look, let's look at the numbers. I hate to brag. This is not like me. I apologize in advance. But just this month, my channel did surpass 1 million subscribers. And thank you. That's very kind. That is very kind. And obviously, I'm pretty open about championing Blender and that I use Blender. So my channel is associated with Blender in a way, and I have 1 million subscribers. There are other channels on YouTube that are all about Blender. I don't think any of them have 1 million subscribers, not that I've seen. I mean, you're close, Blender Guru, you're pretty close, but you're not there yet, all right? Don't get cocky. Don't get cocky. So, all I know is I'm standing up here, you guys are down there. There must be a reason. I was invited by the Blender Foundation. I didn't ask to be here, okay? But I love it. But so, I think you're here to learn. So, let's get technical. Let's look at, this is a technical conference after all, so let's look at the production of Captain Disillusion and how Blender is utilized in my production workflow, okay? And I use it in a few different ways. First of all, I use it in a narrative way, okay? Sometimes it's about advancing the world of Captain Disillusion, doing some kind of joke or making a point in a sketch. So to take a specific example, I did this video a while back about, goodness, this thing just doesn't want to work today. I did this video about an episode called about this invention called the secret bracelet, right? I don't know if you've seen this thing. I thought it was a silly invention. It was a crowd-funded project. I didn't think it was very good. And I wanted to make fun of it. And what better way to make fun of it than to maybe introduce my own invention, like a thing I made up that's equally silly called the genie, right? So I made up this little ball that you stuff yourself into to mail yourself in the mail instead of having to pay for a plane ticket. It was to make a point, at the beginning of my video. So to do that story, to do that sketch, I had to create this asset. So let's just take a closer look at how this was accomplished. Now, I know we have different skill levels here, and I'm going to try to kind of keep it, generally understood. So what we're looking at here, essentially, believe it or not, this started out as nothing more than a simple UV sphere. And it's about starting a general concept from a general sort of place, and then you use various hard surface modeling techniques. You iteratively, gradually arrive at something ultimately totally unrecognizable, but something that serves the purpose. And it doesn't end there. In this case, it had to be a little more complicated. It needed to animate, so at a certain point, it had to open up so I can like fall out of it, right? So here we're like on another level, okay? So now it has to articulate. There has to be like a point of how do you, delicately kind of figure out this sort of topology. I had to figure out the flow of the topology and decide on like the place where this would elegantly open up. How do you like get it in there, And then obviously turn it into not one but separate objects, up to 3 objects, and rig it up in that specific way that needed to animate through keyframes. This is something anyway, I'll go over it later. So, and ultimately, I think it paid off. I think the sketch worked. I think it was one of the most popular episodes on my whole channel. So, that's an example of narrative use. But primarily, I use Blender graphics and animation in like the explanatory graphics, the stuff I'm known for, visualizing how effects are done, how something is faked, or whatever. And so here's an example of that. I did this episode recently on the Assyrian stairwell. It was this viral video about supposedly this endless stairwell that is at some college. And of course, it was not a real thing. It was kind of an experimental short film by this filmmaker. And they didn't use any complicated graphics or animation or visual effects to accomplish this. They just used old school clever camera tricks. But to explain how it was done, I thought it would be very effective to do it by recreating the entire stairwell in 3D to kind of use it as a diagram to tell you the sort of schematic of how things went down. So you can check it out. But ultimately, I needed to create this asset. And this is obviously a whole other level of complexity. I'll go over this again. I don't remember how we approach some of these things. I'll kind of go through it with you as I remember it. I think for the walls, what did we do? It was planes, a couple of planes. Yeah, so planes, that's not too complicated. But the walls are really not the star in a stairwell. The star is the stair, right? The individual stair. So let's focus in on this. What we're looking at here is, for practical purposes, essentially is what we're talking about is a cube. Okay, now I know, what? Captain Disillusion, that looks nothing like a cube, all right? I know what a cube looks like. A cube looks like this, and you're right. That is a cube, but in Blender, it turns out we have the capability of changing the size of things, and it's called scaling. I believe the shortcut is S. You press S, you can sort of scale things down, and it goes equal dimensionally, but not only that, you can do it one dimension at a time. If you go S, X, right, it goes only on the axis. You guys, I don't see you writing it down. It's for your benefit. But so, you can do this iteratively, and eventually you arrive at something that is basically kind of like the shape of a step. And that is how I achieved the creation of not just that step, but all the steps. And I'll tell you something else. I didn't even have to do it one by one. It's a repetitive step. There's a thing called the array modifier. It's over there in the modifiers tab, and it just copies everything. It's done. So, I apologize if I went too fast through these things. I know there's different levels. I know 80 Burrows wanted some, explanation about these things. Just come up to me after the show. I'm happy to talk to professionals, to amateurs alike. Actually, speaking of amateurs, I hope you'll indulge me. It's a little off topic, but I need to get something off my chest. You guys in this room, we're already here. We love Blender. We don't need convincing. But I want to talk to the people at home, maybe watching the live stream, maybe later on YouTube, who might have downloaded Blender once, might have tried it, and they didn't stick with it because they felt that Blender is not very user-friendly, not intuitive. Okay, where do I begin? You are wrong, okay? And I'm happy to prove it to you any day of the week, okay? Take any aspect of the workflow, anything, like something as complex as materials, okay? Handling materials, shading. This can sometimes be convoluted in other software, not in Blender, all right? It couldn't be easier. So let's just go through it real quick. I don't want to spend too much time. Say you have your model, you're happy with it, you like how it looks, but you don't want it to look like it's made out of dental clay or whatever. You want to give it a nice material. All you have to do is go over to the Materials tab. This is going to be fun with this thing not clicking. And go over to the Materials tab, click this little plus button, and it will add a new material, as well as a material slot above, which lists the material which is listed below. Okay? So now, stay organized. Okay? Stay organized and rename your material into something that makes sense. something that makes sense. And you'll see that the material slot got renamed as well. That's because materials have names. Material slots don't really have names. They just reflect the names of the materials that are listed within them. But don't worry about that. Just set some basic settings in the control panel below. If you need a little bit more control, you can go to a different control panel called the node editor. Spend a few days in there, get it exactly the way you want, and then you're done. It's simple. Yeah. If you want your object to just have the one solid material, you're done. If you want more than one material, don't worry. You can do that too, okay? Just go into edit mode on the object, select the geometry, click this little plus button, it'll add another material slot. It won't be automatically populated by new material, so you gotta go down and press that little plus button again, it'll create the new material. Now, if you try to rename this material the same thing as an experiment, you can't, because every material in a Blender scene has to have a unique name. But multiple material slots can list the same material within them, in which case they will all be called the same thing, but that's not confusing. All right, don't say that. And anyway, in our case, we do want a different material, all right? So we've got to create a new material, but don't click that plus button. That plus button does not create a new thing. That plus button is not like this plus button over here. That plus button does not create a new thing. It duplicates the thing that is currently listed. But sometimes you do want to do that. You want to create it, you don't want to start from scratch. Just go ahead and click that and just modify the material that's there in the node editor for a few more days. And then, when you're happy with it, you'll see that nothing has happened. And that's because you weren't paying attention and you didn't click assign, all right? We're almost there. So go ahead, click assign, all right? You'll see that nothing, so to reselect the geometry, click assign, and nothing has happened, of course, because you weren't paying attention again, because when you reselected the geometry, it selected its old material, so nothing happened. You assigned the old material to the old material. So select the new material, right? Select the new material, and then click assign, and then you're done, okay? It worked. Now, it's okay. I understand there is a learning curve, and if by the end of this process, through trial and error, you accidentally created a few extra materials, then that you didn't mean to create, and you don't want them around, you might want to know how to get rid of them. Well, you can't. Okay? I'm sorry. Don't be such a baby. All right? In software development, deleting is just a concept, okay? It doesn't, some software might have a delete button, and when you click it, a thing disappears, but it's not really gone, okay? It's not gone from the memory, all right? Right? Am I right, Tom? So in Blender, we choose not to go through that charade, okay? You can't delete unused materials. If you really want your unused materials gone, go ahead, be a grown-up, select. Oh yeah, you can't delete material. So be a grown-up and restart Blender, shut it down, restart it again, okay? And then the materials will be gone. Of course, any other unused materials that you might have wanted to keep around will be gone as well. But is that really the fault of Blender? Or is it the fault of the user who didn't plan ahead, and didn't flag each unused material that they wanted to keep around by simply clicking a button next to it intuitively labeled F? I could just hear them at home, what's the F stand for? Say it with me, everybody. Fake user. Duh. What does that mean? None of your business, okay? Just stop telling people that Blender is difficult to use. I'm sorry, guys. I just had to get it off my chest, and sometimes people can be so annoying with these.
Captain? Sorry to interrupt, but I think I've got everything working, so we can try again.
Great. Not a moment too soon. I miss my beautiful body. And these people have strange reactions to things. Okay. What do I do? What?
Just touch the laptop again.
Are you sure?
It's okay. That's supposed to happen.
Here
we go. 3, 2, 1.
Did it work?
Well, partially.
What went wrong now? You're supposed to fix this, Alan. I'm starting to develop body image issues in a room full of computer nerds. For Christ's sake,
I'm sorry, Captain, but I think the only way I can recreate the anomaly is if both subjects are in line of sight.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that in order for us to switch bodies back, we have to be in the same room?
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to fix the portal so I can go back through it. Is that it?
Yep.
And at that point, by being back in our own bodies, we'll finally regain the ability to play the instruments we both play in our two-boy pop boy band Fluid Sim.
Uh-huh.
And nothing would then, of course, prevent me from coming back out to the stage as my proper self, the way I was supposed to in the first place.
Well, I don't know if we want to make it that complicated.
Fix the portal, Alan. We can't let our audience down. I can come up with a few more minutes of crap to say. All right. Let's take it down, guys. Look, I hate to do this, but I have a Patreon, okay? It's the primary way that I support myself, through contributions like Blender Foundation in a way. YouTube income for someone like me could be unreliable, but it's nice to be able to sort of share some extra materials with people, with fans, and know that I'm being directly supported by people who really like my stuff, who really believe in what I do. And we've built like a nice little community of our own there, with fans sort of like giving me feedback and seeing things like ahead of time of the general public. I enjoy having that interaction with them, but I do have to say, I do attract a certain kind of fan, okay? And I'll give you, I think we could look at a specific case study to kind of figure out what I mean. I did this video about this marble sorting machine. You might have seen this. Sometimes it like floats around as a GIF, and it's this device called the Galton board. And they're usually just like mixing balls, but this one magically is able to sort them by different colors, right? This was this thing that's, going around. How do they do that? And there's not a huge mystery about it, because the artist, the creator who did this, who made this, he was open about it. He posted like a work in progress thing showing how he did it. It was just a background plate, and that entire thing was a CG recreation. I'm not sure he used Blender. He might have used Maya. I don't know, but he did this, and so that part of it is not in question. So the question becomes how was the making the balls separate handled? And I think all of you instinctively know this because you understand how this stuff works, right? A simulation makes the balls fall down, but once the simulation is done, it's baked. You know where they're going to land. At the end, you can recolor them. And then once you're rendering it from the start, it looks like they're mixed. They come out. It's obvious. I don't think any of us in this room have doubts. But my patrons do. My patrons have doubts. They're very hyper skeptical people. Like, I think it's just something, it's my fault. And so they have this constructive feedback sometimes. I made this video, and by the way, because this was very well done, and that part of it is not a mystery, I didn't feel I need to like recreate this thing to show it can be done in CG. It's done. I'm not gonna sit there and recreate this perfect, exact replica of it. So what I focused on in my video was to just explain the principles, because you guys understand this, but people out there, they don't understand these principles sometimes. So I did like simple mock-ups of things that illustrate how these things are done, with like just partial models and like simple explanations of this is how simulation works, this is what baking is, this is how you resurface materials, the way we learned earlier. And so it was received very well, and again, my patrons received it well, but a few of them had a few notes and questions. And so let me go through them a little bit. So one guy named, I think his name was Kroll. Yes. So I'm gonna paraphrase all these notes. So he had this to say: "Great debunk, Captain, but you missed something." He said, "You missed this little thing I saw during the falling of the balls. There's a part where one little ball, this stray little teal ball, it goes off in a different direction, not where all the teal balls actually end up landing. And like, what happened? It went away. It went out of shot. Therefore, I think your whole explanation is wrong." And there wasn't just a simulation. There's something more to it. Maybe the balls were made procedurally to change color depending on where they're going to end up. And I thought about this, and I answered him. I said, yeah, that ball is a strange anomaly, that thing that happened with the one teal ball. But I don't think it's enough to just negate my whole explanation, which is the easiest explanation. I think if the balls were changing color midstream, we would notice some of it, and I don't see any balls changing, so I think, I'm still correct, and so, that's all there is to it. And to that, Kroll said, no, I guess I don't know, but I don't think you're right still. I don't know why. And I thought, geez, if I had the luxury of time, if I could just sit there and recreate a perfect replica of that thing, and I put the same amount of balls in it, and I run the whole simulation, I show you how it's done, I wouldn't have to say anything. It would just be done, and you'd believe me. But I'm not going to do that. The video is done. I have to move on. I have other videos to create. I have to make a video every month. So whatever, I just let it go. I just ignored it. And then another nice patron had something to say. He said, his name's Marcel. He said, but Captain, you missed something. How come, if this is a simulation of real physics, why didn't the balls end up in what's called a normal distribution? Because in a real world Galton board, right, they fall like this. There's a big hump in the middle. That's what Galton boards are designed to show you that happens, right? But in this guy's video, it was like almost completely straight. There's a little hump, but it's not really big. So I thought about it. I said, yeah, well, there's a little hump. I think it's less pronounced because for him, artistically, he needed the different colors to be sorted, and it would be weird if there was very few of a certain color. It needed to be even. So what he did was just tweak a few different settings in the physics to kind of cheat the system and make them distribute more evenly. You can change weight of certain balls, you can change like air resistance or something, the friction, the bounciness of things, and that's how he did it. And then he didn't seem convinced. And then another guy, this educator who's helped me on a few videos called Dan, chimed in, less pronounced, that either it's falling in a normal distribution or not. Physics is physics. You can't just change things around. I think this first guy has a point. And the first guy is like, yes, I don't believe you. I don't think you can tweak physics in the way that you can tweak physics. And I don't think it works like that. And I was like, I'm not going to engage with this. I don't have time. I'm not going to be goaded. He said, if you want to do the simulation, redo it, do it. I'm not going to do it. But secretly, to myself, without telling them, I freaking redid that whole stupid thing, okay? I sat down and I built a photogrammetrically as perfect a replica of the thing based off the footage as I could. I rigged it up. It's as close as you can get, all right? And I filled it with the same amount of balls after that I could see in the video. I did the whole simulation. I think I got all the scale right, and I discovered something interesting. First of all, because of that big spike, which is not usually part of it, bouncing the balls all the way, like reflecting them, they actually land in this weird, bizarre, inverse distribution. So this is a crappy Galton board design if it was to be made in the real world. But never mind that. Even with that huge handicap, I put my theory to the test, okay? I ran the simulation a few times, and I tweaked a few parameters, and when I was happy with it, I baked the simulation and I recolored the balls at the end. And how about we look at the result, huh? Look at those balls go. Kroll, check them out. Look at, they're all landing magically in the right place. Are the last few stragglers gonna go in the wrong place by accident? No, they all made it in the right place. And I didn't seem to need to change any of the colors of the balls secretly. It seems to have worked. And Marcel and Dan, check out how nice and straight this whole distribution is. It's almost like a straight line. I guess it is possible to tweak the physics, to make the thing do whatever you want, because it's just a simulation. It's not a real thing. That's what it's for. So, I love you. I love you. Thank you for your support. I love it. But maybe sometimes just trust Uncle Captain Disillusion, that maybe he knows what he's talking about, okay? Thank you. So, those are the 3 ways I use Blender to tell stories, to demonstrate the principles of visual effects, and to pwn people when they step out of line sometimes. But mostly I use Blender because it just makes me feel good. I love that feeling of sitting down in front of a fresh Blender scene and just feeling the possibilities. Feeling like I could create anything. It kind of puts me into that feeling back in the day when I would watch Babylon 5 and stuff, and I would be impressed by, and it feels like I could touch that, I could accomplish that if I really tried. I had the capability. In fact, I have, in a way, on that stairwell video, one segment involved creating a parody of Babylon 5. So I kind of did a shot-for-shot remake of this thing, and as a joke, and it's it made me realize, when looking at it side by side, if I put my mind to it, if I do my best, if I put my best effort forward, I can make something that sort of, kind of, almost nearly looks as good as something made 25 years ago on an Amiga computer. And it's okay, because when I say I'm the world's greatest Blender, I didn't mean generally, okay? I meant in my own category, in the weird way that I use it, as I've showed you. And That's because Blender is such a versatile tool. Like, we don't have to be animators. As you guys, there was only like 3 animators when Ton asked, right? You can use it for so many things. You could be, a sculptor creating 3D prints out of it. You could plan architectural design. You could do, painting. Use a Blender scene as a basis for your digital painting. We can all be the world's greatest Blenderer in our own, unique category. And that's, if you take away anything from it, it should be that. Now, I'm really sorry if I've been cranky throughout this whole thing. I am not really that upset about being stuck in Alan's body. I mean, now that I've been in it for a while, I think it's actually kind of hot. I don't know. But it's just, it kind of ruins things. I had this thing planned. We were going to do this big ending, right? Because I wanted to show you all the shots I ever did in Blender in Captain Disillusion. It's a bunch. It's actually too much. I wouldn't have had time in my entire time slot to string them all together. But I thought I would use every shot, but quickly make a quick montage that would be like a cool music video. And for the music of that video, Alan and I, we have this band, right? And so we thought we'd create this rockin' song about Blender for you and sing it to this montage. But then the portal broke and then we switched bodies and it's all just kind of been ruined. But I don't like to give up. I'm going to have to do this one way or another, and I'm just going to have to improvise using the ancient Japanese art of karaoke. So if you just bear with me, guys, this is going to get emotional because I want to share my feelings with you. Because I want to say, people might call me primitive, but primitives are how it starts. Good old cubes, spheres, and flat planes, together or apart. Watching you build a universe while I'm getting stuck in views. All I wanted to do was blend with you. All I wanted to do was blend with you.
Captain, I did it! The portal is ready!
Finally, get me out of here.
Yes, sir. Home sweet home. It was getting real cringy out there. Those people were giving me nothing. They can still hear us. Oh. Come on. We better switch bodies back. I'm starting to say things I don't mean. Here we go. And... that's the stuff. Captain, I've had to pee for like an hour. No time. Fire up the playback and suit up, Alan. Because Fluid Sim has got a gig to perform.
Yeah.
1, 2...
of you and me, X and Y, never evolving into XYZ. Can't afford you now, and you won't do what I expect. Would it kill you to let me right-click select? So let's just end it and not pretend we're cool, 'cause I've been flirting with a more impressive tool. It's Blender, got its own foundation, built on the people's code around the world. It's easy to see why Blender needs no activation. It just gets you closer or further or different from reality.
You're rushing. What? You're rushing. No, I'm from Latvia.
CG experts are never in short supply, teaching nodes or sharing tips on how to rig an eye. Knowing how is key, but doing is another world. And it also pays better, or so I'm told. So learn the basics and dive right in and start creating assets for an epic work of art. With Blender, there's no limitations, only the time it takes to animate and render the scene. With Blender, some imagination, you might just get closer or further or different from reality.
Isn't it over yet? No. What are we gonna do? What any pop song does to fill time. Improvise a lazy solo. Go. Me? Captain? No matter. Activate the portal, Alan. I'm going out there. Are you sure? We gotta give the people what they want.
We're gonna plot the course for open source. With Blender and all the right intentions, we're getting much faster and better and different in reality. In reality.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you. Love you guys. It's all yours.